Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. Not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Hi, folks. Welcome back. From Fox News. DOJ silent on abortion protest at justices' homes despite federal law prohibiting pickets to influence case. Yeah. Little sound effect there. You know, it's amazing to me what they basically said to the so-called insurrectionists / Capitol rioters that you were there when you busted in the Capitol to intimidate the votes of members of Congress. That was basically the worst charge. And it was a felony, by the way, I might add. A federal charge. But you read on, there have been no arrests of abortion activists despite federal law prohibiting protests with intent to influence a court case. Just like the reporter for, I believe it was NBC or MSNBC, they're all the same, that followed the jurors on the bus during the Rittenhouse trial. And then when they got caught, he asked, well, I wasn't going to film any of them, okay, which would expose who they were, doxing them, so to speak. I wasn't going to interview any of them. I wasn't going to talk to any of them. So then why the hell were you there? You were there to influence them. Let's cut through the crap. You were going to somehow, maybe not through your network, leak out that video with who these people were, which violates, I can't think of a state in the country that doesn't violate plus federal law. This clearly violates federal law, but we have a two-tier justice system. Let's read on before I get too sidetracked here. It's ridiculous. The Department of Justice is remaining silent on continued protests by abortion activists outside conservative Supreme Court justices' homes, despite a federal law that makes it illegal to attempt to influence federal officials in the outcome of a court case. Now, they're saying they're just protesting. They're not there to intimidate the judges. So why are they only at the Republican-appointed judges' houses? Why aren't they Sotomayor's, Breyer, and I forget the third Democrat-appointed justice, Kagan. I forget her name. Doesn't matter. They're not at the Democrat judge's house. So that means it's intimidation. Let's cut through the crap before we all drown with it. Federal Code U.S. 1507 states that any individual who pickets or parades with the intent of interfering with, obstructing, or impeding the administration of justice, or with the intent of influencing a judge, juror, witness, or court officer near a U.S. court, or near a building or residence occupied by such judge, juror, witness, or court officer will be fined or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. And I believe it's a felony, but don't quote me. And again, the answer to, here is our Attorney General, Merrick Garland, the so-called got screwed over to be on the Supreme Court. Thank God for that. This is his response. Yeah, crickets. These people suck so bad. You know, he had more issues with parents going to school board meetings, and he brought the full weight and power of the Department of Justice to come down on them, and made it publicly clear how horrible he thought it was, and yet we get no response out of him. And by the way, parents going to the school board and saying what they said did not break federal law, or even state law for that matter. Despite the language included in the federal statute, Attorney General Merrick Garland has not issued a public statement. Boy, he sure came out with one pretty quick when the School Board Association, the National School Board Association, wrote him a letter. Statement addressing the protests outside conservative judges' homes. And the Department of Justice did not respond to Fox News' digital request for comment on Garland's silence and the reason why protesters have not been arrested. There's a shocker. Did not respond. They are elevating their political interest in portraying the draft from the Supreme Court opinion as extreme over their constitutional duty to execute the laws faithfully and protect both the court and the justices. Here's the ironic part to all that. Here's the part that burns my ass, and I'm going to say it straight out. I'm not even going to mince words. Striking down Roe v. Wade, considering the abortion issue, in a lot of ways, is the compromise. Is the compromise for people that are anti-abortion. That is the compromise. They're not saying you can't have one. We're just saying the federal government doesn't have the power to say it's a constitutional right, not without legislative approval, i.e. a law. If Congress, if the House of Representatives, and the U.S. Senate, and it's also signed by the president, then it becomes federal law. And since 1973, I believe, when Roe v. Wade, when I was a junior in high school, it's been the law of the land without legislative approval and the direct approval of the people and their elected representatives. And that's the entire point. The Supreme Court could not rule that right now, in my opinion, and people a lot smarter than I, that abortion is illegal. That only can come from legislation. But we'll see how this goes. And this is an interesting paragraph here, McCarthy. I would note that months ago when Attorney General Garland unjustifiably dispatched the FBI to investigate parents, and they went to their houses, by the way, who were protesting the inclusion of racist and anti-American materials in school curricula, Garland claimed that the Justice Department had an interest in protecting teachers and school administrators. Not only was it untrue that schools were under siege, the relationship between parents and schools is a state and local issue, not a federal one. That's right. Hypothetically, if a parent would have assaulted a teacher, it would be a state crime, not a federal one. McCarthy referred to the DOJ memo from last fall directing the FBI to investigate threats of violence at school board meetings in order to combat supposed threats against school board officials by angry parents. Garland received massive backlash for his directive because it just came days after the National School Board Association wrote a letter to Biden's administration to treat parents' protests at school board meetings as possible acts of domestic terrorism. Typical progressive left tactic. If you disagree with us and strongly protest against us, you are the terrorists. But these people here, they're not terrorists. We're not intimidating a judge. We're exercising our First Amendment right of free speech and protest. Only word I can think of to describe that is bullshit. By contrast, the protection of the Supreme Court as an institution and other justice security are patently federal matters over which federal law enforcement has clear jurisdiction. It is inexcusable that the Justice Department is so silent and passive now when it was so loud and active over a manufactured controversy to which it had no jurisdiction. That's about as clear as you can make it. And unless you have a mental illness or you're a city urban liberal type, the acronym for that is CULT, unless you're one of those, it's perfectly logical and makes sense. Oh, God. America First Legal Senior Advisor Aya Pryor also reacted to the department's silence, telling Fox Digital, it says all you need to know about how the politicized this Department of Justice is. Now, is it because the Justice Department is filled with left-wing progressives and they've taken over? I don't think so, but I think they're in key spots. And I think that the people in the Department of Justice and the FBI, which is under the Department of Justice, the vast majority they do want to do the right thing, i.e. in this case, arrest these people. But just like they do in regular society, the Democrats, progressive leftists, will ostracize and crush anybody that opposes them through social media or anything to crush them and make them a non-person. And they're in the minority, but they're controlling the majority's actions. And I think that's true in the DOJ as well. Merrick Garland weaponized the DOJ against parents a mere 4 days after the Biden administration received a letter. Meanwhile, here you have protesters arguably violating federal law by protesting at Supreme Court justices' homes to influence a legal decision. And we haven't heard a peep from Garland. Now, the funny part was, my understanding is, when they protested in front of Justice Kavanaugh's home, that protest was organized by a neighbor of his. Won't you be my neighbor? Well, I guess the neighbor wasn't Mr. Rogers. It was some lady, I forget her name. Interesting. This administration has showed nothing but contempt for anyone that doesn't fall in line with its radical policies and appears to be completely fine with extremist, mob-like tactics to back those policies. And I agree. Oh, yeah, Jen Psaki's quote. Now, remember, she's speaking for the president. President Biden strongly believes in the constitutional right to protest. But that should never include violence, threats, or vandalism. Just being there is intimidating judges, just like you said, that people just walked through the door the cops invited them into in the Capitol were insurrectionists. They were trying to intimidate the outcome of the vote. Judges perform an incredibly important function in our society, blah, 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 blah. You're so full of crap. It's going to be interesting to see her replacement. Oh, Lordy. However, Justice Crisis Network President Carrie Servino tweeted in response to Psaki's statement Monday that the White House still has no problem with activists protesting outside of Supreme Court justices' homes. And you can see her tweet there. According to the reports, Justice Alito and his wife had to move out of their home to an undisclosed location. It's possible other justices have too. Now, they're older. When I say older, the youngest might be Brett Kavanaugh. They grew up in a non-internet world. And they know clearly because they're intelligent people. So the other four that appear to be going to vote against Roe v. Wade, they know if they give in to the mob just an inch, if one of the justices changes their mind and upholds Roe v. Wade, they'll come after them 10 times harder. They're smart enough to know that. And so they're holding firm. When you hold firm against progressives for an extended period, they just dry up and go away. Now, this is interesting. This is Dick Durbin, of all people, who I can't stand, frankly, but of the old school Dems, he may be the fairest, but that's a really low bar. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin said last week during a committee hearing that there is no room for mob action, intimidation, or any personal threats against a public official, period, whether it involves their home or otherwise is out of line. He continued that when asked if it's appropriate for protesters to show up at their homes, no, I don't care for people who do it to my home, and they have. It is demeaning and adolescent and not convincing at all when you're trying to plead your case by doing something that outrageous. President Biden strongly condemned an attack on a Wisconsin pro-life activist center, stating in a statement that administration condemns political violence of any kind. Now, is he going to flood that city with FBI agents to find out who firebombed that office? I saw the interview with the lady, and she's more determined now than ever. Took a couple of Molotov cocktails through a broken window, almost burned the place down. But luckily, it looked like the fire went out, so they're so stupid they can't even do that right. Are they flooding that city with FBI agents to do the investigation? I doubt it. Oh, they'll put 2 or 3 there to the local office, whatever the closest local office is in Wisconsin, probably Milwaukee or Madison. And they'll go through the motions, but nobody will be arrested. But they'll have people of interest. Abortion activists protest outside of Justice John Roberts and Justice Brett Kavanaugh's homes over the weekend. Now, my understanding, I think they grabbed them both because they live close by each other. And the group Shut Down D.C. organized another group that's stationed outside of Justice Samuel Alito's home on Monday evening. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overturned, Alito wrote in a February draft decision for the case Hobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization. It's time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. The people do not elect the Supreme Court. And in 1973, when they upheld Roe v. Wade, it was not directly the people's representatives. And, I don't want to hear the smushed over argument. Well, these justices were approved by the people's representatives. Bullshit. Something like this needs direct representation. If that's the case, then the Supreme Court should make all our laws, right? We won't even need a Congress. But we do. Even though they suck, we still need one. So there you have it. Another two-tier justice system. And that's the incredible part. I thought, maybe I was mistaken. Maybe I'm getting older and my mind's going with dementia maybe. That I thought progressives and Democrats, that one of their number one issues was a two-tier justice system. Apparently, they like a two-tier justice system. So next time one of your liberal friends or progressive friends complains about that, point this out and see what their answer is. I'm sure their answer will be compelling. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.